We are committed to molding leaders who can navigate the complexities of today's business environment. Join us at the CFO Leadership Academy. For more information, send us an email info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area, Kampala. Mat Abacus Business School. Knowledge, clarity, works. In today's complex and ever-changing business landscape, CFOs need more than just numbers. They need strategic vision, adaptability, and the ability to lead. Introducing the CFO Leadership Academy, a transformative program developed by Mat Abacus Business School in partnership with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Uganda. This one-year program delivers unparalleled learning experience. At Mat Abacus Business School, we are committed to molding leaders can navigate the complexities of today's business environment. Join us at the CFO Leadership Academy. For more information, send us an email info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area, Kampala. Mat Abacus Business School. Knowledge, clarity, works. In today's complex and ever-changing business landscape, CFOs need more than just numbers. They need strategic vision, adaptability, and the ability to lead. Introducing the CFO Leadership Academy, a transformative program developed by Mat Abacus Business School in partnership with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Uganda. This one-year program delivers unparalleled learning experience. At Mat Abacus Business School, we are committed to molding leaders who can navigate the complexities of today's business environment. Join us at the CFO Leadership Academy. For more information, send us an email info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area, Academy. For more information, send us an email info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area. Is complex and ever-changing business landscape. CFOs need more than just numbers. They need strategic vision, adaptability, and the ability to lead. Introducing the CFO Leadership Academy, a transformative program developed by ABACUS Business School in partnership with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Uganda. This one-year program delivers unparalleled learning experience. At ABACUS Business School, we are committed to molding leaders who can navigate the complexities of today's business environment. Join us at the CFO Leadership Academy. For more information, send us an email info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area, Kampala. ABACUS Business School. Knowledge, clarity, works. In today's complex and ever-changing business landscape, CFOs need more than just numbers. They need strategic vision, adaptability, and the ability
In a world where the winds of change spread rapidly, where disruption is imminent and competition is relentless, every business needs a partner to ensure that you maximize profitability and guarantee competitive returns for investors, to peer into the future and predict favorable investments, to perform expert financial analysis and help you make sense of the numbers, to downgrade your risk liability, keep your taxes in order, and validate your accounts, ensuring that you stay ahead. Every business needs a certified public accountant. Be that strategic business partner. Enroll for CPA today at www.icpau.co.ug.
In today's complex and ever-changing business landscape, CFOs need more than just numbers. They need strategic vision, adaptability, and the ability to lead. Introducing the CFO Leadership Academy, a transformative program developed by ABACUS Business School in partnership with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Uganda. This one-year program delivers unparalleled learning experience. At ABACUS Business School, we are committed to molding leaders who can navigate the complexities of today's business environment. Join us at the CFO Leadership Academy. For more information, send us an email info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area, Kampala. ABACUS Business School. Knowledge, clarity, works.
In a world where the winds of change spread rapidly, where disruption is imminent and competition is relentless, every business needs a partner to ensure that you maximize profitability and guarantee competitive returns for investors, to peer into
to lead. Introducing the CFO Leadership Academy, a transformative program developed by ABACUS Business School in partnership with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Uganda. This one-year program delivers unparalleled learning experience. At ABACUS Business School, we are committed to molding leaders who can navigate the complexities of today's business environment. Join us at the CFO Leadership Academy. For more information, send us an email, info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area, Kampala. Industrial area.
and validate your accounts, ensuring that you stay ahead. Every business needs a certified public accountant. Be that strategic business partner. Enroll for CPA today at www.icpau.co.ug.
In today's complex and ever-changing business landscape, CFOs need more than just numbers. They need strategic vision, adaptability, and the ability to lead. Introducing the CFO Leadership Academy, a transformative program developed by ABACUS Business School in partnership with the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, Uganda. This one-year program delivers unparalleled learning experience. At ABACUS Business School, we are committed to molding leaders who can navigate the complexities of today's business environment. Join us at the CFO Leadership Academy. For more information, send us an email, info@matabacus.ac.ug. Visit our website at www.matabacus.ac.ug or find us at Plot 1, 2nd Street, Industrial Area, Kampala. ABACUS Business School. Knowledge, clarity, works.
In a world where the winds of change spread rapidly, where disruption is imminent and competition is relentless, every business needs a partner to ensure that you maximize profitability and guarantee competitive returns for investors, to peer into the future and predict favorable investments, to perform expert
Let's humble ourselves for the word of prayer. Dear Almighty God, we come before you this morning with thanksgiving for giving us your grace to be here. We welcome you, and we welcome you to bless this event. We pray that you bless the panelists and our moderator. We pray that you bless the entire day. We welcome your presence, and we pray all this in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we take the honor to welcome all of you, our dear CEOs of respective organizations, board members, CFOs, and the entire C-suite. Ladies and gentlemen, you're most welcome. We are running our third edition of the C-suite. Those of you who have been following our activities in as far as the C-suite is concerned, remember in 2023 we ran the very first C-suite, and the concept we discussed then was really the synergies of the CEO and CFO, how they would blend activity together in as far as organization success is concerned. In 2024, ladies and gentlemen, we came back here for another C-suite. This time, our theme rotated around the collaborative role, the role of the board, the role of the CEO, the role of the CFO in as far as fostering organization performance. We are back. As the Institute, once we pledge to perform and do something, we will commit to it. We are back with the third edition. This time, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about driving transformative change in unprecedented times. Unprecedented times, ladies and gentlemen, that have been driven by political, socio-economic, technological, and environmental forces. I am aware we've taken note, for example, of the Trump tariff, the tariff war. We are seeing a lot of things happening in as far as the political space is concerned. Wars all over the continent, wars all over the world, international, local, but also civil wars are coming up. We are seeing what is happening in as far as the donor community is concerned. USA disbanded, and something else coming up, international humanitarian assistance. But as we are talking about this, we are saying the unprecedented times are really unprecedented. We are seeing forces around the social, religious, and community space. We have got the new Pope, The new Pope for the first time coming from the American world. In 2023, Pope Francis, now the late, expelled one of the bishops of America. And now we are seeing America producing the what? The Pope. We are saying the times are what? Unprecedented. Ladies and gentlemen, the package for the day is really rich. We have a panel of experts that are going to take us through all this, and let us just keep seated and watch. At this moment, allow me invite our CEO, the chief host for this particular activity, to address us. CEO, may we put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for the CEO.
Thank you, C.P. Charles Lutimba. I'm smiling ear to ear. Ladies and gentlemen, our panelists, President of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda, invited guests, CEOs, board members, all members in their own capacities. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I stand before you to welcome you to the third edition of C-Suite, organized by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda, as a way of creating synergies for the boardroom affairs, especially concerning the accountancy profession. Everyone in this room, I'm sure, knows what C-suite is all about. And if there is chaos in that suite, the organization is in trouble. And chaos in that suite is usually a subtle chaos. They don't box each other. They don't use harsh words. But the disorganization that happens in C-suite makes the entity stall, makes the entity to delay. And we have, on our part, realized that the misalignment is usually between the knowledge gap of the board members, the CEO, and the finance function. And it's one of the reasons that we put this together to ensure that we align ourselves. It has been observed that every entity that is thriving has a very good finance team. And we want to enhance that and encourage board members, CEOs to realign their finance team. Of course, that may be a hard discussion, but we believe it's possible. And once fair approached, you're able to align and come up with a very good finance team. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop there and as a way of redeeming time to ensure that we catch up with our program. We don't want to be here beyond 11, and we are very good at sticking to our timelines as the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. With those few welcome remarks, I take this opportunity to invite the President of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda, holding fort, CPA Ronald Mutumba, to come and make opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Our guest speakers, CPA Professor Samuel Sejjaaka, Principal and Team Leader at ABACUS Business School, CPA Patrick Ayota, Managing Director at the National Social Security Fund, and our moderator, Mrs. Jackie Namara Rukare, CEO of Iguru Consults. I hope it's not a spelling mistake, because I'm used to Iguru, a Soga word than Iguru. So, members of the ICPAU Council, members of committees of council, board executives, distinguished CEOs in our midst, and heads of organizations present, CFOs, media team, ladies and gentlemen, a good morning to all of us. With great pleasure, I welcome you to our third edition of the C-Suite Forum, organized by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. And I would like to say to us that this is not just a gathering, but I trust that it is a powerful assembly of leadership, insights, and responsibility for those who occupy the highest levels of decision-making in our institutions. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for honoring our invite. Your presence reflects our shared commitment to shaping the future of our organizations and our country. As accountants, As members of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, we are driven by a calling to serve in the public interest, and we trust that we can only do this in partnership with the rest of the leadership of organizations that drive the economy and therefore the interest of the general public. May I take this opportunity to recognize CPA Patrick Ayota, the Managing Director of NSSF. Your position currently is an opportunity to reflect about what steadfast leadership is, what strategic foresight is all about, and unwavering commitment to the fund's growth and long-term sustainability. CPA Ayota's journey from CFO to CEO epitomizes the very essence of the C-suite forum. It is a powerful affirmation of the synergies we continue to promote between the CFO and CEO roles. That financial stewardship is not just about being a back office function, but a springboard for transforming leadership at the highest level. We believe that CFOs in their roles are co-pilots supporting the CEO, who is the chief pilot. I also take this opportunity to recognize the presence of CPA Professor Samuel Sejjaaka, the principal and team leader at ABACUS Business School. And something special about Professor Sejjaaka is that over time he has mentored so many accountants as a teacher, and also epitomizes what driving transformative change as an accountant is. His journey from the lecture room to leadership in academic institutions and into the boardrooms where he supervised the roles of CEO and CFO are a good example of what the C-suite forum is all about. He has taken the role of the accountant to the boardroom, where he has chaired a number of boards and currently continues to mentor CFOs through the CFO Leadership Academy at ABACUS. This is a first in our country, and we are proud to associate with him as together we build the accountancy profession. Ladies and gentlemen, I also take this opportunity to recognize Mrs. Jackie Namara Rukare. She's a seasoned marketeer and with vast experience in the C-suite environment and over 10 years of board experience. And there's a very critical resource for our session today that can give us insights from another professional perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, as an institute in fulfilling our supportive role to financial managers, we have the CFO Leadership Academy, an initiative that is shaping the future of strategic financial leadership. The course equips CFOs and senior finance professionals with skills, insights, and networks required to thrive in today's dynamic environment. It is a space for critical reflection, learning from peers, and personal transformation. We're excited to share that the next cohort begins this month. And additionally, tomorrow, 15th May, we shall celebrate the graduation of the current cohort, a group of exceptional finance leaders who have completed this intensive journey of growth and excellence. I therefore take this chance to invite you to be part of this transformative experience. If you or someone in your organization is ready to elevate their leadership and create lasting value, they need to seriously, or you need to seriously consider this opportunity. May I also take this opportunity to extend our sincere gratitude to all CEOs and business leaders present for your continued support to the accountancy profession. Through your commitment to paying membership dues and continuing professional development fees for your CPAs, you both uphold professional standards and invest in ethical and future-focused financial leadership. Your support sustains the integrity and growth of the profession in our country, and for that, we thank you very much. We also would like to take this opportunity to continue our clarion call that, like any other profession, we have a threat, a cancerous threat of those who purport to be part of us, but are not part of us. Those who pretend to quack like accountants when what they are actually doing is quacking, the quacks. It is a call to the leaders of organizations to always look out and see that person you are recruiting or employing or requesting to offer you the services of an accountant, to question whether that person is indeed an accountant. The definition of an accountant in Uganda is a member of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. And what is critical about that membership is that person has volunteered to be regulated. And by accepting to be regulated, they are committing to ethical responsibilities. So as leaders of the organizations, it's a clarion call. Let us always support the profession that way. So as we look ahead, I also call upon the leaders here to continue partnering with us on and the financial reporting awards. We call them the FIRE Awards. These are not mere events, but platforms that offer immense value to your organizations through the profession by promoting thought leadership, visibility, and networking with the best in the industry. The Institute takes this opportunity to reaffirm the enduring value of CPAs. They are trained, regulated, and held to the highest standards of ethics and competence. I continue to urge you to protect their professional space by ensuring that all accounting roles within your institutions are occupied by qualified CPAs. But for the finance staff that you have who are not yet CPAs, we ask for your support in helping them professionalize through recognized pathways. This is how we build strong institutions and a resilient economy. So coming back to the theme of today's session, our theme is driving transformative change in unprecedented times. We live in an era of unpredictable economies, technological disruptions, climate uncertainty, changing global politics, and increasing demands for transparency and accountability. The old ways of doing things can no longer work. As C-suite leaders, we must not only react to change, but also stay ahead and lead the way forward. And amongst the important players in this evolving leadership landscape is the CFO. And today's CFO is not merely a custodian of financial information, but a creator of value. CFOs are helping organizations to adapt quickly, use resources wisely, manage risks early, and make informed decisions. They are leading efforts in sustainability, accountability, technology, and building trust with stakeholders. Organizations with strong CFOs involved in planning have handled crises better, recovered more quickly, and stayed more flexible during tough times. And we have a mantra, which for today I believe we have evidence that behind every successful organization there is a professional accountant. In the case of Uganda, there should be a CPA. And that's why at ICPAU, we understand that we must evolve to support the transformative leadership. Our commitment is to continually empower professional accountants with the tools and the ethics provided through our thought leadership and master classes required to thrive in such times. As an institute, we remain committed to providing high-quality continuing professional development to enhance executive decision-making, support the adoption of international best practices in financial reporting, risk management, and sustainability, promote ethical leadership and integrity, and advocate for accountants in leadership to ensure that financial insight is always available where strategy is being discussed. So as we deliberate today, I urge all of us to reflect deeply on what transformative change really means. And on behalf of the Institute, the Council, and Secretariat, I once again warmly welcome you to the third edition of the C-Suite Forum. Thank you for walking the journey with us as we build a future of accountable, adaptive, and transformative leadership. I wish you all fruitful discussions and lasting networking. Thank you for listening to me.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who want to follow the deliberations online, our hashtag is CPA Forum, one word, CPA Forum 2025. And that barcode that is before you is for anybody who wishes to access the pictures that are being taken for this particular event. We have taken a presumption that once you are taking a picture while smiling, you have given us a right to use your picture. That forms consent. So we should not have any claims thereafter if you see yourselves on a CPA banner. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the gist of our C-Suite, and to take us through the next session is Madam Jackie Namara Rukare. Madam Jackie is a highly accomplished professional with over 2 decades of leadership experience in business, corporate governance, and marketing. She is currently the CEO of Iguru Consult Limited. She advises businesses navigating dynamic and challenging environments. Her career includes senior roles at Vodafone Uganda, Stanbic Bank, Airtel Uganda, Unilever, Uganda Breweries, where she consistently excelled in building high-performing teams and brands. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackie, beyond her consulting work, she also serves on a number of boards. Among them is the ICT Association of Uganda Board, Ayota Limited, Capital Solutions Limited, Egg Production. She will tell us what egg production does, but it must be an interesting entity. Data Care Uganda Limited, as well as the Advisory Council of Uganda Marketers Society. Dear CEOs, board members, CFOs, distinguished guests, may we put our hands together for Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I would be a fish out of water this morning. So when I had the conversations with Ambrose and Lydia to moderate the discussion, I wondered what I would do in a room full of CEOs and CFOs, but I'm happy to note that I see a number of familiar faces in the room. So I really feel at home, or should I say I feel at ICPAU. So thank you for welcoming me into your community. This morning I'll be moderating a panel, and what we are going to do is give our panelists 30 minutes each to tell us about the topic from their perspective, and then we shall have a brief discussion and then open it up to the audience for questions. So it is my pleasure to introduce CPA Patrick Ayota. Patrick is the Managing Director of the National Social Security Fund of Uganda. Before his current appointment, he was the Deputy Managing Director, Chief Finance Officer at NSSF, and before that, he was the Finance Director at Barclays Bank, Uganda. He has extensive experience in accounting and finance, attained from roles in both Uganda and the USA. He sits on a number of boards, including New Vision Group, as well as Housing Finance, and some of you may know, NSSF does have about 50% shareholding at the Housing Finance Bank. You're most welcome, Patrick. We are going to, I need to introduce, he's also my boss, CPA Professor Sam Sejjaaka. He insisted that he doesn't want me to read a profile. He just said I introduce him as CPA Sam, team leader at ABACUS Business School. So I believe I have fulfilled my role. But if I didn't do, it would be a career limiting move, because I also happen to teach at the school, so I'm respecting my boss's wishes. So we'll start with a presentation from Sam. Each of our panelists has been assigned 30 minutes to go through their presentation. And after Sam has delivered his, we shall have Patrick delivering his, and then we shall get into the discussion thereafter. So you're most welcome, and let's give our panelists a warm applause.
Have you connected the presentation? Thank you very much, Jackie. Sometimes when you make these very long introductions, you give away so many other things, like the fact that I started working in 1987. So a lot of people in this room probably were still in school, so you don't want to say all those things. But it is a pleasure for me to stand here in front of you and see so many familiar faces, to the extent that it would be wrong for me to single out any particular person. But please allow me to recognize Patricia Ojangole. I used to be a boss. She just got a PhD the other day. So I see people following in those footsteps, and that's wonderful. We have to keep on learning, and that's very important. That's very important for us because we are living in unprecedented times. When you talk about unprecedented times, I don't know where I really want to start. But perhaps let me start by reminiscing about the interview I was listening to on the BBC yesterday. The person being interviewed was the former British Prime Minister, Sir John Major. And he said some things that concerned me. He talked about receding democracy. He talked about the war in Ukraine, and he talked about the Trump presidency. And in all of these, he was driving a message to do with unilateralism, how countries are turning inward and focusing on themselves. So indeed, these are turbulent times. You do not need to focus on what Sir John Major was saying to understand that these are turbulent times. Even here home, I guess there's a lot of turbulence. But there's a sense in which we bury our heads and we don't want to see the turbulence. In January 2026, we will be having an election. But already, if you look at the primaries for the parties and all the drama going on, you definitely have to accept that some things are not as they should be. There is a name that they use for young, spoiled people. They call them Jadens. There are a lot of Jadens in our midst. And if you watch and listen to some of the things they say, you must agree that these are unprecedented times. The Jadens have grown up. They have grown up with a sense of privilege, with a sense of entitlement, and they're all over the house breaking the China ware. So those are turbulent times. But you can have your own definition of turbulent times. But I thought that since we're talking about the C-suite, I'll try and stay on safe ground. So I am bringing you back to the safe ground. Can I have my presentation? So I want to talk about turbulent times in the context of the C-suite, but don't forget the political context. What is the new normal? What regulatory and policy shifts are we seeing? What do we really mean by transformative change? What leadership do we need in these times? I'll talk a bit about agility and what we can learn from failure. So, in this new normal, we have technological advancements which are fast-paced. And these changes create challenges. Just yesterday, in 2008, I remember sitting on the board of Stanbic, and I remember the guys at MTN inviting us For the launch of mobile money, none of the directors of Stanbic Bank turned up. A few years later, in the same boardroom, the first topic on every discussion we had was the size of the escrow account of mobile money. That is what change means, that even the conversations in the boardroom were changing. We have evolving laws and policies, and these create compliance hurdles. We have shifting client demands. Yesterday, we were saying the customer is king. The customer is no longer king. The customer is a dictator. And if you can't do what the customer wants, you have a problem. Again, for a long time, you sit in boardrooms and you have product development people presenting to you new products which they have thought of. Are those the products that the customer wants? One of the products that we undersell in the financial sector is mortgages. One of the reasons we undersell mortgages is because we have a form in the banks and the financial institutions where we ask you for your salary. Now, not everybody who can afford a mortgage has a salary. So, do we understand the customer? This is the new normal. Pictures speak for themselves. All of us are amazed by the idea of MAGA, Make America Great Again, and the things that it has implied. USAID has left. I don't know if you know a relative who has lost a job. I was thinking to myself the other day that actually I don't have any relatives in the government or in these big organizations. But I know some of you who have these relatives, they must be feeling the pain. They are talking about defunding the World Health Organization. We have the wars, the tariff wars. We have the war in Ukraine. This is what John Major was talking about. The fact that a country can attack another one and try to grab land, that is unprecedented. Then, if you see that map with the chess pieces, that signifies unilateralism, everybody acting on their own. If you see the picture with the lorry at the top there, that picture is from the border of Malawi and Tanzania. I don't know if you've heard what happened there with the bananas and everybody throwing ultimatums. Lato, you know what has happened with Uganda and Kenya. So, unprecedented times are not necessarily only out there. They are here. Now, on the side of technology, which I need to emphasize, which is in our work spaces, we have this idea of big data. Just the other day, I was invited by Uganda Communications Commission. They are working on a strategy for AI for Uganda. And I said, you can't have AI if you can't manage data. For those of you who travel to Kigali for their core conference, I have been traveling to Kigali regularly and I've been using my ID. Now I can't use my ID because it has expired. How can an ID expire? There's something wrong there. But I was saying to them that if you cannot have all your data in one place, then you cannot do the things that are associated with artificial intelligence. You cannot do machine learning. You cannot do data analytics. So all the data in Uganda is in disparate places. You have some in NERA. You have some in URSB. It's all over the place, and that is not good for us. But we have the threat of cybersecurity. Again, yesterday, listening to the news, if you have your data, if you always travel to the UK and shop with Marks and Spencer, your data was just stolen yesterday. So that is the kind of world in which we live. So people can steal your data and use it for different things. So this is what we mean by the new normal. Yesterday we were talking about a world which is volatile, uncertain, and complex, and also ambiguous. Today we're talking about a world which is brittle. And that's why I started saying that, look, the world appears to be broken. If you look at the whole of Europe, I think the saying that came to my mind is that history repeats itself because human beings forget. Now, in Europe, they have forgotten what happened during the Second World War. So they are recreating it. The fascists are back. And they don't want you people there. They don't want us there. So it is much more dangerous for us there, because they have forgotten what happened with the Third Reich. So the world is brittle. So if, John Major said, if Russia succeeds with Crimea, and Trump seems to be offering Crimea to the Russians, what will stop the Chinese taking Taiwan? So this is a world where anxiety has increased, stress due to the uncertainty and instability in the world. Relationships are no longer linear. I don't know if you know a relative who is a sufferer of AIDS and has been receiving a beneficiary of USAID drugs. I happen to sit on the board of Case Hospital, and these executive orders are not a joke. The day they signed the executive order, the guys at USAID sent us a message and said, please give us our drugs. This is the kind of world you are in. It is incomprehensible. And things are happening, everybody is looking inward. When it comes to regulatory and policy shifts, I'll pick just a few things because I don't have that much time. Yesterday, we were talking privatization. And if you remember, I told you I started working around 1987. I was in the thick of privatization. The argument we made was government had no business doing business. Where are we today? I was in the Ministry of Finance the other day visiting the Undersecretary. And next to him was seated this lady who had been an executive director. And now she was transforming into a commissioner. Okay? So now we are thinking nationalization. Yesterday we had Omeme. Now we have UEDCL. So you see those paradigm shifts taking place. Okay? When you talk about tariffs and taxation, these things are happening. When you talk about militarization of infrastructure, these things are happening. When you talk about national development programs, you see what is happening. So these are the policy shifts. Because of time, I can't really go into this in detail, but you get the idea that these are turbulent changes taking place. Again, I have mentioned the customer. We are talking about the customer, and here we talk about things like sustainability, the customer being connected, the customer being opinionated and vocal, not loyal, eager for solutions. Again, I have experience from the insurance industry. And one of the biggest problems is we again make products and take them to customers. The customer doesn't want those products. The customer wants to say, I am going to Nambole to watch a football match. Can I buy insurance for 3 hours? I don't know which insurance company is selling insurance for 3 hours. We are still selling policies. And then we say penetration rate is low, isn't it? But that is because we are selling things the customer does not want. So all these things are there. I have seen people spending the whole day on TikTok. The whole day. So the customer is being influenced by others. In other words, we are first by a new kind of customer. Recently, I was following the budget debate in Nairobi. Those Gen Zs are turned on. They are something else. The way they are analyzing the budget, I wish some of us were analyzing our own budget the way they are analyzing, because we would be shocked by the things that are not okay. But the customer understands better. So the customer is evolving. So when we talk about transformative change, let's start with the core. One, there's a shift in paradigms. There's a shift in core systems. The new customers, the majority of the people we want to serve, they see the world differently. They have new frameworks of thought. And you may not have thought about it, but when is the last time you went to the bank? When is the last time you went to the bank? If you're still going to the bank, you are not a digital native. We have evolving objectives and aspirations. Sometimes I cannot keep up. When I see people with tattoos, and I wonder how I can hurt myself like that. But these are the majority of people now. When I see people with... You went to work in the bank, right? Okay, so guiding principles and beliefs have changed. There are quite a number of influential elements driving change. So how do you look at these aspects of transformative change and bring about change in your organization? These are driven by digitization, the need for sustainability, and the need for risk management. So this is the world we live in, turbulent times. So as leaders, and this is where I want to spend my time, what should we be doing? We need to have agility. When we talk about these things, they sound more like phrases of the month. They are not. We need the ability to adapt and guide our teams. So the mortgage we are selling, the insurance policy we are selling, needs a rethink. So that is what agility is about, that the products we are selling are not the products that the market wants. Coming from the education sector, yesterday, whatever we did, we used paper. We used to chalk and talk. Now the students don't even come to school. So if we don't have learning management systems, how do you still have students in a school? When the students come to do exams, we don't give the exams. Somebody comes and gives the exams, and he tells you, we don't want you here. So somebody else is giving the exams, and that model is going to catch on. I have been thinking about my friends, the lawyers. Continuous learning. We need to be seeking new knowledge all the time. I think we take knowledge for granted. And it gives me a lot of pain as an educator when somebody says that we will pay more for people to study science and we will pay less for people to study, or rather to teach, to work in the arts. And I'm saying that the world does not have those divisions. The world doesn't have those divisions. Art is used in science and science is used in art. So how do you create a dichotomy? So that is part of the problem of learning, are we having wholesome learning? And I think we have a problem there. The third point for me is execution. I don't know if this is a national disease, but from the small unit, the small SME, to the large organization, execution is a problem. The other day we were told that you must have a dustbin in your car. And then we were told you need to, when you have rubbish at home, you need to separate it. And I'm wondering if that is happening. Those small things add up. We were told we were going to have a dust-free city. I'm still waiting. That was a few years ago. So, execution. A lot has been written about execution. If you talk about agility, then you must talk about execution in the same breath. If you believe things, you do them then. Anticipation, foreseeing future challenges and opportunities reactively. So what is the world going to look like for us tomorrow? If there's anything that concerns me, I said it at the beginning, and I said the Jadens have grown up. Yesterday, when the Jadens were still young, we talked about a population dividend. So these people are supposed to be the bulwark of our development. But you meet them driving Ubers, doing all sorts of odd jobs, and they have graduated. And we can't employ them. We can't put them in the market. So what opportunities are we creating? Lastly is listening. For us in the C-suite, I think this is the most important thing. Are we listening to our environment? Are we listening to our stakeholders? Do we understand that environment? Here's a very good example of not listening to the environment. I don't know, the chairman of MultiChoice is going to kill me because this example comes from there. You know, their business has been emasculated by pirates. But I remember about 5 years ago, I said, look, I want to watch a game of soccer on the weekend. Why don't you have pay-per-view? And they kept on insisting, you pay for the bouquet. They call it a bouquet. You pay for the whole month. Now, Every time you switch on your radio, the radio is singing Kawik. So these realities are also with us. Let's not laugh at multi-choice. These realities are also in our spaces, isn't it? So are we listening? That's what I mean. Are we anticipating change? Are we acting decisively? And are we aligned to our stakeholders? Do we know our stakeholders? So for me, this is why I say agility is not just a catchword. It is non-negotiable, okay? So we need to have a framework for dealing with this. So after how long and after how much damage has MultiChoice listened? And still, for me, this is not enough. I want Karunaku. I don't want Kawik. The corporate graveyard is full. And those guys in that graveyard are not necessarily any different from us. I remember Crane Bank, I loved their slogan. Do you remember it? Serving to grow and growing to serve. But there was complacency in compliance and risk management. It was fatal. Crane Bank is no more. Unfortunately, that was a local bank, a Ugandan bank. ShopRite, they packed up and left. Customer preferences, the distance, the culture. ShopRite and Game are very similar. For both of them, there was a very, very serious issue of culture. Understanding public sentiment, choices. But also, I think, if you look at it in the context of culture in the organization, there were the super managers and then there were the other people. So failure was always on the block. You can think of other organizations that have suffered this fate. So these are turbulent times and we need to learn from failure. I've run out of time. I'll leave you with this thought, very, very old, by Peter Drucker. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. Ladies and gentlemen, are we aligned to how the world looks like today? That is the only way our organizations shall survive these turbulent times. I thank you so much.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as Patrick takes stage. Thank you.
Good morning. Now, we had breakfast. Good morning. You know, I was so scared of when they told me that I was going to be co-presenting with Sejjaaka. I said, there is no way, Patrick, you can do that. It was unfair of Derek to do that. So I thought maybe, let me not be an accountant. Let me take a little bit of a different tack, because I'm sure by now, after Sejjaaka had did, you're just wondering whether or not we'll survive. So I have two presentations within the 30 minutes. So the first one has nothing to do with accountancy. It has everything to do with our country. I said this because there are only two things where dust comes from. Two. Decay will cause dust. Don't stay in your house long enough to begin to crumble and cause dust. The other thing that causes dust is reconstruction. I was in Aroa recently, went from Nebi to Aroa, and you can see the road is dusty.
But you could see the machines there, piles of marram that has been, because they are reconstructing the road. So whenever you see dust, don't stop on the dust. Ask yourself, what is causing this dust? So I want to show you the other side of Uganda that maybe you've not paid attention to, and yet you have. Okay? Many of you may not know. I think you know that. Uganda is smack in the middle of Africa. Interestingly enough, it's 3.5-hour flight from Entebbe to Cairo, 3.5-hour flight from Entebbe to Lagos, 3.5-hour flight from Entebbe to South Africa. So pretty much, within 4 hours, you've covered the whole of Africa. So if you're a producer in Uganda and you want to get your perishables, you can actually get your perishables in any part of Africa. That's where we are situated. Many of you may not know our national language is not English, it is Swahili. So how many of you speak Swahili? This is what other people say about us. This is a document produced in 1946, a development plan for Uganda. The document then quotes Churchill in 1904, before he even became Prime Minister. You may not be able to read it, but this is the last part. It says, my counsel plainly is, concentrate upon Uganda. Nowhere else will the results be more brilliant, more substantial, or more rapidly realized. This is Churchill writing about this in 1904. He saw the Uganda we don't see. Now, interestingly enough, he's the one who came up with the Pearl of Africa. Now, these are images that we have from here. I like this one. 2024, you can say, Churchill, old school. What did he know? He doesn't know the Uganda of today. Branded guys in 2024 named Uganda the #1 tourist destination in Africa and the 4th in the world. And in that list of the 4th, Switzerland was #1. That's an independent view of somebody. 2023, BuzzFeed said Uganda is the 13th most beautiful country in the world. I personally disagree. I think we are #1 or #2, but I didn't write the article, so we'll go with that. We are the home of Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa. We have the largest number among gorillas. Forget what Rwanda tells you. All those gorillas are Uganda citizens. Eh? They just keep on going to Rwanda without a visa. And then they claim they are theirs. The Nile, the longest river in the world. We have over 1,000 bird species. Only in Uganda, please, if you go to the national park and a lion is chasing you, just run faster. Don't climb a tree. Rwenzori, the 3rd highest mountain in Africa, right on the equator, but with snow on top of it. We the people love to work hard. We pray earnestly. We honor our traditions. We love our Luombo. We create champions, all we do. I like the man for chasing Kipchoge. That is a Kenyan. But if you're from Tanzania or South Africa, you hadn't even turned the corner, so tough luck. And we dance like there is no tomorrow. You can get to across Africa on Uganda Airlines. By the way, it's a very good airline. I travel quite a bit, so I can tell you Uganda Airlines, not because I'm a patriot, it's actually a very good airline. That's in Uganda. Some of you think that's not in Uganda. That highway is actually in Uganda. You go to Kalangala, there's Vanessa, not the little canoe. You can enjoy the walk. Of course, we can leave our boda. Sometimes there are 5 on a bike. Or you can just take a leisure ride on a bicycle. So I'll just play for you this. You can choose to stay at the Serena, Mbarara, or you can even just in a simple African hut. I have that one in home. My home is in a place called Nyem Nyem in Tororo. So please, you can come and enjoy the hut. Or you can just enjoy an outdoor tent. Oh, just a minute later. I want to play this. Can we play this one here? Can you play from there? Just play a little video. Yes, play. You're good? Thank you.
The sun wraps the sky in warm and golden light. Here the snow-capped peaks meet the equator. Opportunities soar as high as our majestic mountains. The wild calls with the promise of adventure and discovery. And the waterfalls echo the endless possibilities flowing through our land. Beyond the stunning landscapes lies the true heartbeat of Uganda. It's in the vibrant, dynamic people. It's in our relentless drive to make lives better. Our hope in tomorrow's nation builders. It's in the rhythm of our dance. It's in our passion and every stride towards progress. In the moments that bind us. In the rich fusion of our cuisines. It's in our everyday hustle and in our grind. Striving to build a brighter, more prosperous future. Uganda, a land abundantly endowed with resources. Brimming with opportunities waiting to be harnessed. Where possibilities are vast as our landscapes. And the spirit of progress is unyielding. This is Uganda, a place we call home. Explore and invest, and unravel the pearl of Africa.
So that is a glance of my awesome Uganda. So I used about 5.5 minutes for that. And I have a reason why I do that. I invited some guests in March last year. Were nominated to be the liaison office for East and Central Africa for East as the International Social Security Agency. So I went to UTB and UBC, give me some documentaries about Uganda that we can play during the interlude. So our visitors, and there were 300 of them coming from all over the world, and I was disappointed. What I saw is we had adopted, as Ugandans, the viewpoint of the donor. Think about this. The last 30 years, this economy has been driven by donors. Now, what do donors want to see? They want to see misery. They want to see helplessness. They want to see sickness. They want to see poverty. Because in showcasing that, they raise money. That's why no missionary goes to the U.S. and shows where he's sleeping. I've been in the U.S. They'll show you the poor African child. They never show you where they sleep. Because that's how they need to raise money. And with us, because we became dependent on the donor, on the aid, we also took that viewpoint and we look at Uganda through that process. That's why we are so good at telling bad news so quickly. And we'll spread that bad news like it's anything. And we don't stop to think about what's there. I even argue this, that, if you look at a country that's struggling to find its footing, the battle between NRM and NUP is a country trying to figure out what should our democracy look like, going beyond the dust. Is it that we need to improve? A lot. Do we have issues? We do. Do we have corruption? Yes. Do we need to make things better? Yes, we do. But guys, I can tell you something. I've traveled a bit. It's not as horrible as sometimes we don't see this country. All right. I'm just going to talk a little bit about, and I'm picking up from where Dr. Sejjaaka left. And I'll tell you something, and I'm going to take it. I have the advantage or the privilege that I've been at the fund for a long time, and a lot of things that he talked about. So I'm going to give you a story how we worked. I'm an accountant by profession. I came from the grassroots. I started as an accounting clerk in the U.S. reconciliations. I became senior accountant. And then I went to be CFO in the U.S. I came back here, I was CFO. What helped me along the way is I realized one thing. As a CFO, you are sitting on a place that's second to none. Every decision made in a company can be translated into data. And you're seeing it. You're seeing through the financials, you're seeing whatever marketing has been made, you can see it. You're sitting on the top, and that pillar of information you have is so valuable. We're very fortunate that when I joined NSSF, so we didn't have a strategy. We didn't have a strategic department. And I quickly worked through by the KPMG, I'm not sure. For the 10 years up until 2011, NS7 have been getting a qualified opinion on their reports for over 10 years. So my first 2 years was to clean up our GL. Now I rolled my sleeves up, cleaned up, brought in a good financial controller, some good accountants, and suddenly I found myself bored because they were doing all the bookkeeping. And as a CFO, I thought I should be doing the bookkeeping, but I had hired the right people. But then that allowed me now to think strategy. What can we do? So by 2015, we begin to think about strategy. Richard told me, Patrick, you're going to be in charge of strategy. So see if I become head of strategy. 2014. This is the environment in which NSF finds itself in 2014. There was a push for liberalization, regulatory push for liberalization. I know a number of us argue. I can tell you something. The one thing this country did right was not to liberalize NSSF. You cannot. I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why you do not is the last vanguard for you as a worker. If you had been liberalized, this is what was going to happen. We would all be competing on a return. You go with the guy who has got the highest return. As you chase higher returns, you make more and more risky decisions. And you put your own savings at risk. It happened in Chile, and that's why countries like Malaysia, Singapore, US itself, Canada, never liberalized their pension funds. There was a clamor for it. That was the environment. Then COVID showed up. This is the last 10 years. COVID showed up. Nobody knew where COVID came from. It just showed up. We thought it was a one-week phenomenon, lasted 2 years. The law changed, midterm, benefits, disruptive to us. Many of you clamored for your money, didn't want to wait longer than until 55. You said no. And we made a very interesting argument. The argument was, the lifespan of a Ugandan is 45 years. Now you're telling me I wait until 55 years to come for my money. It didn't make logic. And there was a clamor for midterm. But they're coming right on the foot of COVID. You can see that the political will to pass that law was very high, and we had to. And then, of course, the famous parliamentary hearings. So, over the last 10 years, these are some of the things we've gone through. The economic upheavals in 2022, the Kenya shilling just went down, so we were major investors in Kenya. So the question is, when you see all these things happening, these had the potential to destroy the fund and make the fund basically become detrimental to the benefit of the member. So I'm going to walk through a little bit, and I'm using the benefit of hindsight. What are some of the things that helped us overcome this? So a practical example that we have. How did we survive? Well, not only did we survive, we thrived. This is where we were in 2015. The transformation journey starts with one thing. At least know where you are. Be very honest with you. Where are you? And with that, we used a little bit about something. And remember in 2015, not only are we having, by the beginning of 2015, there are scandals. We are coming out of scandals. Everybody thought in 5 years, by the time I joined in 2011, the fund had gone through 5 CFOs, 3 MDs. One had even gone to jail. So the scandals, or perceived scandals, had basically engulfed the fund. When we joined, people would go, Patrick, you're going there. And I was coming from Barclays. Imagine you're leaving Barclays and going to NSSF. Good luck, you'll last there less than 1 year, or you'll go to jail. That was the environment. We were so scared of making decisions because of that environment. Oh my goodness, the lawyers were punching bags for every lawyer. Every lawyer who had anything, they would just sue us and we want to settle because we're too scared to fight back. KPMG would come and I remember, okay, no offense to KPMG. I found them auditing 2019 in 2011. They started auditing 2010 before they had finished 2009. So they began auditing 2010 before they had finished 2009. So we had this perpetual presence of auditors all the time coming through because things were not as well. And that was the environment we got. And I'll just talk about that. The professor talked about customers are demanding more. By the way, we found them there, they were demanding more. The most interesting thing for us in NSF is not that the customers were demanding more, they had given up hope. We did a survey in 2015, and the question was, if the government did not force you to save, how many of you would save with the fund? The answer was only 16%. That is how depressing it was during that time. This is what basically, interestingly enough, we used 4 measures for the fund. In 2015, our staff satisfaction was 74%. It had gone up a bit, but it was only 74%. There's a direct correlation between the way your staff feel and the way your customers feel, because your staff are the ones who serve those customers. In fact, the first rule of surviving, take a look at your internal people. Then we look at the customer. Take a look at your internal people. If they're engaged, they'll give you solutions. They will provide a way for you to serve those customers. It used to take us 18 days to process one benefit. That's average. Sometimes it took us 60 days. No, there was no hope. And the fund was 5.5 trillion shillings. So, what we realized more important, I just told you that we needed to gain the trust of our members. And you'll hear me coming back to that theme. The customer, the member. Can we build a company that the customers trust? So, we came up with our plan. We called it Vision 2025. And the idea is you have to keep it simple. Many times, many of you guys have got strategies. It's this big. I can summarize the strategy of NSSF in one sentence. If you treat your staff well and they're fully engaged, and I'll measure that by customer engagement score, my target was 95%. And I give them tools and processes, whether technology, whatever it is, and the training, that they can be very efficient in the way they serve our customers. My measure was to be able to process benefits in one day. They will wow our customers. And I can measure how wowed our customers are by knowing how satisfied they are. If they do, they'll give us the money to keep for them. And the target was 20 trillion. That was the essence of our strategy. We call it 95, 95, 120. 95% staff satisfaction, 95% customer satisfaction, 1 day processing time, 20 trillion shillings. That formed our long-term strategy for the next 10 years. By doing that and engaging staff and telling them what was about to do, what was happening, we began to align the staff to the strategy of the fund. We focused on one thing, the member. We needed a compelling message. So what we did was interesting. In 2015, remember there's liberalization coming. So we come up with a vision that to be the social security provider of choice. And the key word there was choice. We understood that you as a member are going to have an option. If that law goes, you will have an option. So we better make sure that we give you the best service so you choose to stay. Then we came up with a purpose. And this is 2014. Our purpose is to make lives better and make savings a way of life. Then we came up with our promise to the members. Now remember, they didn't trust us. So we came with what we call our customer value proposition. Basically, number one was safety. Members were concerned. They thought that the government was coming and just putting their money in their pocket. In the what? In their taking their money. Management is eating their money. No wonder they didn't have any, they didn't even think that money was theirs, it was there. So we needed to get the trust of the members. So we defined our value proposition as safety. That when you become eligible to get your money, it is there. But number two, we preserved value, which informed how we invest the money. We have to invest in such a way that we give you value, and we don't erode that value because of inflation. Number two, promised you, we'll make it convenient for you to do business with us. And our definition of convenience was anywhere, service anywhere, anytime, at your convenience and pleasure. It informed the type of technology we buy. And lastly, empowerment. This one, we could not do it until 2022. One of the saddest things is somebody has got 1 million shillings in their account. His wife is in ICU. But because the law never made a provision to release that money, we could not release the money to that member. The helplessness is amazing. Sometimes there's time when we sat and cried together with that member, knowing very well we could do anything, because if you give them the money, it was now unlawful. I don't know whether somebody's from Centenary Bank here. There's a member who came in 2021. The bank is foreclosing on their house. They owe 36 million shillings. The guy is 49 years old. Our law says you can claim your money when you hit 50 and you've been at work for 1 year. We have 73 million shillings of his money. His house is going. We cried it together. We couldn't release that money. I remember calling, and I remember calling Fabian, the CEO of Centenary Bank. I said, I have your customer here. He owes you 36 million shillings. You are going to foreclose on that. We have his 73 million shillings. He's going to be eligible to get that money in 1 year. I know it will take you about 1 year to go through this foreclosure process. Why don't you hold off foreclosing on this house? He says, oh, Patrick, that's very well. Okay, what we'll do, I'm going to send you a note so we can put a lien on his balance. Say, sir, you can't. The law does not allow you to put a lien on a retirement balance. So we cross it now. Let's do this. Let him write a letter to us now, instructing us that when he becomes eligible to get his money, we will send this money to his account in Centenary Bank. And the guy wrote. And for the next 12 months, we all blew our fingers. Oh, goodness. Because he can send us another letter instructing us to send that money to Stanchart. I actually forgot about it until he came with his wife. I think he came last year. I couldn't remember. And sure enough, he kept his word. By that time, the interest continued to grow. So now he owed Centenary Bank close to, from 30, about 42 million shillings. But we had also given him interest on his account. So now he had a balance of 83 million shillings. And Faith paid it off because we couldn't. What that made us do is really advocate for a change in the law so that people could now voluntarily save. That law was passed in 2022. It became operationalized last year in November 2024. And I'll give you what the results of that has been. And you can see for us to deliver any of these value propositions, it forced us to take certain actions. And the reason why I'm saying that, what you need is to anchor your business on something. What's the value you are going to give your members? Because if you anchor it, you can, at a minimum, when the disruptions come, you don't have to react right away. You can step back a bit and say, what does this do to the value we have? Because when your customers are that, you'll get what you need. This is the strategic plan I told you where we wanted to go in 2015. We made it easy, and this is where we did. On our people, what we need to do so that staff feel engaged and can trust us. Now, the key word is there, the staff trusting you. Strategy is interesting. Strategy, you're not dealing with what people are seeing now. You're taking them to the future, which is abstract. Many times they will not understand the strategy. 10 years they won't. But they have to trust you, the leader, that hopefully you can take them. There's a slide I have you on leadership. This leadership, according to Patrick's theory, it's a theory, so please don't go find out, test it out, and so on. A leader to me has out of 3 things. 3 attributes of a true leader. 1, the typical visionary. That you can see far, it's not clear, but I can connect the dots and say, you know what? This is what I see. I think I need to do this. Number 2, which in Uganda we don't have. If you look at NDP 4, if you look at NDP, we have aspirations. We've written all these things as a country. The next thing which a leader should have is the courage to take the first step. Why? Remember, it's abstract. Chances of failure are high. You will fall on your face. So we in Uganda, we came up with this word. We need it to, we need it to, we need it to. Even if finance minister, we need it to, Minister of Finance, we need it to. But who is going to, we need it to? And we don't take the step to take it. And now you, if you're going to take your company, you better have the guts to take that first step. And when your staff trusts you, they will follow you. Not even knowing, not fully knowing where you are going to go. They will follow you. Yes, the risks are high, you'll fail, but you stick there. And that was some of the things that we found along the way. We were able to do some of those things, and we took the guys there. The last one of a leader, you know, we baptize these things, emotional intelligence, whatever it is, just a bill to persuade others to follow you. Why do people persuade you? They can trust you. You have integrity. So if you are the leader, you can see far, you have the courage to go there, and you have the integrity, and you can persuade to follow, you're the leader. But the rest of us are managers. But you know, we can't, management, when we say management course, it is not sexy enough, sorry. And so we baptize everything, leadership courses. Even when it is a management course, if I say, come and I show you how to do a budget, that's a management issue, that's not a leadership issue. Okay, in this country, I think we believe there is a leader. We have a leader. Quite interesting. But sometimes leaders also want to be managers. And that can be quite interesting. So really for us, we engaged our staff, explained, took them. The number 2, performance that's measured and rewarded with the performance that is delivered. We set up a way we measure performance, very abstract, and rewarded it, and had consequence management. By 2017, it informs what we buy. Today in NSF, you can get on your phone in your bedroom and register from your phone in the bedroom. You can initiate a claim from your bedroom. Why? You now have an app. On the app, you basically put your need. It pings NIRA. The NIRA, within it populates the biodata we have with the NIRA. It pings the phone company, confirms that that phone company is actually, that phone number belongs to you. It pings your bank account and confirms that that bank account is yours. We could actually pay benefits in 30 minutes. I was telling the CFO the other day, he said, but you know, Patrick, we need to, you can't just do that. I said, you have got 3 validation points. Why are we so scared of letting the system pay the member? But we still want to intervene because we think, but one day we'll come there and make the thing so. That was technology. Now when we talk about AI is there. We basically can predict when you're going to come for your money. You fall in a certain class when you know you will show up to make your claim, because AI has told us the demographic, the characteristics of people who can actually do that. So we're integrating that in our own systems as we do that. Oh, last one, please. Control and governance. Remember one to do our trust. We are not required by law to have annual members meeting. But we did it because we believe that we need to be transparent to our members. Give members an opportunity to ask questions. And what it does with this, the more we opened ourselves and they realized there was nothing wrong, the more they trusted us. Many of you get SMS every time you get a message that, okay, we received your contribution of this 10 million shillings, please. You know why we sent you that? One was help you, because up until 2014, people did not believe that money belonged to them. But if you look at that message 4 times in a month, you say, that money is actually mine, eh? Yeah, it's mine. So next time your employer, you don't get that message, you go back to your employer and say, hey, did you send my money? And our compliance rates went up because we're doing that. By the way, some of you were interesting. There's a guy who came and told us, Patrick, please, can you switch off that? Eh? Because apparently he's been telling his wife a certain story. I think he was telling his wife he's making 3 million shillings. So one day the wife lands on that message and she does a computation. It comes to a gross of around 9 million. So I say, honey, what's the story here? You say, honey, I got a bonus. But you can't get a bonus month on month because there were other messages that had come to do that. So guys, the point of it is transparency helps in that process so you can actually do. But we are very serious about our controls. I mean, we strengthen our risk department, internal audit, legal department, strengthened them. All the things we do, whether it is self-assessment or control, we do. And we're very serious about it. It's on our balanced scorecard. We've got a risk, what we call is called a risk index, where we then merge what has come out of risk, out of internal audit, out of those findings. And for us now, it's 88%. You better hit 88% on the risk side because we are determined about that as a member. Of course, what do the members need? I think this one was talked about. I will just mention a couple of ones, if I can have a couple of minutes. I think you talk about relevant product. You know what we realize that we are telling you save. The point is, if I tell you need to save, I've given you half a message. Why are you saving then? I've never gone through the end and find out what should I be solving. If you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you have the physiological, which is at the bottom, then the safety. What I'm trying to sell when I tell you save, I say, if you do not save and you become old, you may face financial ruin. If you are sick and you don't have a little bit of money, you can face health ruin. So what I'm trying to do is to help you, give you a safety need, satisfying that need that you have. And we're changing our messaging for that purpose. The reason why it's important is, then because if you're fundamentally meeting a member or a customer need, even if these things come, they will not go. Let me tell you another issue again. Apple. Many of you have Apple phones. I have one here. Each day the users of Apple phone line up whenever there is a new version of iPhone coming. You think they want to talk better? No, because they can talk through Samsung. Think they want to take better pictures? Samsung has even better cameras than they. But what Steve Jobs did, Steve Jobs didn't even consult members. Steve Jobs went ahead of the members. What is the need I need to satisfy? And if you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you have physiological, safety, there's one called esteem. He made it so great for someone to hold an iPhone that people actually buy iPhones, not to use, but to be seen. They use iPhones, and they faithfully line up whenever there is an iPhone. He's touching something about us that I need to be recognized, I need to feel I'm special. And that's what he did. So question, ask yourself, what is your product? What need is your product fulfilling? Because if you touch it and the member trusts you, they will never leave right away. They'll give you benefit of the doubt. Finally, brand build. I'm just talking about that brand build. Many of you don't realize what the perception you're going to have about NSF in 3 years' time is dependent on what you see about NSF today, what you read about NSF today, what you hear about NSF today. It will form your perception of NSF 3 years from now. What you think of NSF today was formed 3 years back. So I have to manage that perception. We do a very interesting thing. We have what's called tonality score in the fund. We call it positive tonality. Basically, we say, if you're going to read the papers and there's a negative story about NSF, market director, make sure you are familiar. You're very close to these auditors, the editors of newspapers. You will not kill the story, but you can put a counter story. So that's why you always see if there's a story about NSF that's negative, there's another story that's written by us to counter that. Why? When you read it, hey, NSF did this. Then you read the mind and say, we've cancelled the tonality. Now the rest of it can just be gravy. And you can actually do that well and be able to bring about the brand that you need along the way. Anyway, so how do we make our balance sheet grow? I will just finish where we are. So what did that actually lead us to do? You talked about pivoting. Once you set a strategy, with us we do an annual review. You pivot as you need. You can get to Jinja by going straight from Kampala to Jinja. My strategy is to get to Jinja. But then you hear there's a problem in Namara. So let me pass through Kisoga. You go to Kisoga, reach Kisoga, then turn and get to Jinja. Oh, no, that road is horrible. You go to Kayunga and get to Jinja. So the key thing is you're focused on the objective, the goal. On a day-to-day basis, as things occur, you can pivot. And we've had leadership in the fund. We had leadership change in the fund. That's what parliamentary hearing did. But guess what? We still met our goals. Now, what was the result of all these things? I think I just talked about that leadership. Let me finish up with this. The results of our effort. In 2014-2015, the fund was 5.5 trillion shillings. We set a target for 20 trillion shillings by the end of June 2025. That was our target. The most interesting thing is when we set up that target, we did not know there was going to be COVID. We did not know there was going to be parliamentary hearings. We did not know there would be uphills in the economy in Kenya. We did not know there would be midterm. And through all that, We get upset, we got things and so on. But I think because we're so focused on that and we're doing it, we hit 20 trillion in last year, June 2024. We are closing the year, which is June 2025, at about 25.7 trillion shillings. And tells you something that, you know, if you have a strategy, there are a lot of things that are going to come to you. But you weigh whether or not this should kill you or can you make a change. One last thing in what that means, which is important. In 2022, many of you may not realize it, but we actually had a serious loss, an FX loss based in Kenya, about 1.3 trillion shillings. So Kenya is kind of erupting. The Kenya shilling has just depreciated. It went from about 100 to 189 shillings per dollar, and it was serious. So we are looking at Kenya. Every investor in Kenya is fleeing Kenya. So the question is, should we get out of Kenya? And we assessed Kenya and realized the fundamentals in Kenya were strong. So we made a very interesting decision that, as people are fleeing, we are going to buy. So we bought things on the cheap because we had done that assessment. The most interesting thing is we gave ourselves 2 years to come out of that rant. We recovered in 9 months just because we're willing to assess and see what happens in that process. So I think I'll just stop there. The point is, guys, yes, it is turbulent season, but you sit at the pinnacle, you have data. If we anchor our business on some fundamentals, the fundamental number one, treat your staff well. They'll not leave. Number two, get the processes that are efficient, that allow them to serve the customers. 3, give the customer what they need when they need it. They'll stay faithful to you. The money will flow. And above all, as a leader, please let the staff trust you, let the customer trust you. That trust is one of the biggest assets you have. They will follow you even when they don't understand where you are going in the process. So that to me is what has helped the fund. I want to be going 2030. We already started 2035. We have got a different thing. Now we know we've got the Gen Zs have changed, so even our employees have changed. We've got a very young workforce. They work differently. The good thing is, when COVID came, we're about 85% ready on our convenience journey, the technology. So we did. So in 2 weeks, we pivoted and 85% of our staff work from home. We've never gone back. Now, what interesting is, we found out somebody. So we had 2 staff members leave, and we had an exit interview. They said, you know, Patrick, so we said, what could you tell us about NSF? They said, you know, for most people, NSF is now plan B. Hey, excuse me. Our staff, plan B? Yes, your plan B. Say, why? They can deliver the targets you've given them in 2 hours. The rest of their 6 hours, they're doing something on their own. So the first reaction is, oh, no, we need to change the targets. No, that's cheating. You give them an annual target. Let them give you their targets. Of course, this year we wrapped up our targets because we realized they were not doing that. But the point of it is, one of the biggest things we had, which is when COVID came, the biggest challenge for us was not working from home because we had done our technology well. It was our middle-level managers. The middle-level managers used to manage effort. Hey, it's 9 o'clock. You're supposed to be at 8:30. Hey, I didn't see you on the desk. You know, they were managing that. People are working from home. So what are you going to manage? So we had to get our middle-level managers to begin to figure out how to manage results. Set it up. And as long as you deliver your results, I won't leave you only. And people will figure out how to give you results once you give them the room to do that. And to me, so your staff, your customers, your processes, let's get those fundamentally right. And these things will come and go. Yes, you pivot, but it will not kill you. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I welcome you to the 3rd edition of our C-Suite. And this is the moment we're getting into our live interactions. I would invite Jackie and our panelists, Patrick and Professor, kindly take stage. We shall have interactions with them. Feel free, once that moment comes, ladies and gentlemen, to share whatever your views are. For now, I hand over to you, Jackie.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. I believe both Patrick and Professor deserve a much better approach. So I'm in a bit of a dilemma because as both of them were speaking, all the questions I had prepared to ask them, they more or less answered those questions. Perhaps what we can do is we'll just maybe have a couple of questions and open it up to the audience because I'm sure there's probably a lot more questions sitting with you. My question to the both of you is, in what you have both shared in your presentations, the one thing that struck me is the importance of bringing people along with you on this journey, especially where you might have a goal, but the environment in which you're operating is totally unpredictable. How do you get the teams that you lead to remain focused on the prize, even when there is, if we take maybe draw from weather, there might be a typhoon, everything is up in the air. How do we keep the teams focused on the destination that we have agreed, despite the turbulence that is happening? Because I know that's not something that is easy to do. And I will ask any one of you to start and just give us a sense. And I hope that in this room, we're in a safe space. I don't know how many of you are fans of Clint Eastwood. I'm showing my age, but if you remember, one of the most classic films of Clint Eastwood was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So in answering that question, tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly truths that we sometimes don't want to face in handling how we lead people during such times.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Very tough question. And the problem with this kind of question is you don't have one answer. So I think, let me try and answer this from my personal experience. In my culture, there's something we say about the potter's wife, not the potter P-O-R-T, but the potter P-O-T-T. That the potter's wife, it's in the broken pot. So what I have done with my own people is I have told them that if you work here, you must be studying. Because that is the best I can give you. I may not be able to pay you well enough, but you study as much as you want. It is on the house. And if anybody is not studying, then you know that they don't love to improve themselves. And as Patrick said, if your people are not happy and they are not trying to improve themselves, then you have a problem. Now, interestingly, when we started this issue of training, we also had the lowest people, the people who clean. And we asked them, which class? Which was your last class? And some of them had stopped in S4. And I said, we will pay for you to go to S5 and S6. So if you come to math, everybody is in school. That is my own experience, that to help carry the team, you share with them the small things that you have. You sell hope to them. I think for us Christians, the whole idea of believing, and actually Jesus, when you talk about leaders, people talk about Jesus as a leader. And there was nothing he was selling apart from hope. So when you are a leader, you must sell hope. But then again, one of the things I have learned, or maybe it is in my nature, I say it up straight. If I am angry, we have a fight there and then. The good thing is when I come 3 hours later, I have forgotten, because I have told you. And I remember, I think, was it Mr. Rutimba who talked about, I think it was Mr. Rutimba who talked about what? How office politics can be dangerous because it is a soft war. I try to avoid a soft war because I tell you my opinion. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I will tell you again tomorrow. But if you also do something good, I will also tell you that this is good, keep it up. The third point is to understand in these transformative stages that I am working with a lot of young people, and actually they are smarter than me. The people I work with are way smarter than me. So recently, we started an uptake program, and there was this young man who came in to head the program, and he had dreadlocks. So he said to me, "Sir, what should I do with the dreadlocks?" I said, "Boss, those dreadlocks are your business. You want them, you keep them. For me, I want the results." So in that way, I am showing a sense of vulnerability. I am asking them that, look, how can we do this better? And also realizing that I make mistakes. So I think for me, those three things are the way I have managed to motivate my team. I don't know if they resonate with you, but the fact that people work in a place and they are developing and they have hope for a better future definitely makes them work together as part of a team. Thank you.
Thank you. I think in hindsight, I'll say some of the bad and the ugly. For us, really was the wrong hire. I mean, you see, we think that we start when they're already here, but I think what we find out more that you really need, at this time as you're hiring new people, you need to really be careful how you hire. And there's one thing we don't do. All of us here, I believe, have values in your company that you claim you want to live up to. When you're doing interview, how much deliberate effort do you put to find out whether that candidate has the values that you espouse as a company? Because if you don't find out there, and we fix on how the professional experience they may have, the academic qualifications they have, the experience they come up with, you may end up with somebody where you have a clash within your own company with the values you have. We've kind of revamped our hiring process. We have 4 values: integrity, creativity, collaboration, and member focus. That's basically our values. So the bulk of, especially at higher levels, now I personally take time in that interview process and I've figured out different ways of working and how to interview a senior manager at a different level. It's not about asking questions. Basically, I go with you, say, to a restaurant. I stage it up. We go to a restaurant. I took this young man to a restaurant, and this waitress walks around and she staggers and spills water on the shirt. And I'm watching how he's going to react. The typical good I say, "Hey, look at this. We know what are you doing?" He was cool about it. He said, no, it's okay, so on. Can I go to the restaurant? And to me, he passed the test. That to me was, so you have to be very creative on how you're going to bring people on. We don't focus on the values, looking for the values that we inspire. So start from there, because if it's a good hire, it's a good fit, they will stay. Number 2, please, fairness. Every employer wants to size medium milestones. Every year we've got targets, and their objective, you hit them or not. In NSF, if the requirement is to deliver 20, and you deliver 20, that's 100%. No, sir. That's a B. Because you just delivered what we paid you for. You are a B, you're not a high performer. If we want 20, and you deliver 22, now you're an A. And there's a reward for being an A as opposed to being a B. And once that is known that it will work, people will actually work for you, and they will stay and will focus towards the things that you want. He's mentioned about development. We provide opportunities for development. Many people think that the training should be, I look a lot for people who are self-driven. We have a number of online courses. We have Persisio, which has got all kinds of courses from Harvard, Yale, whatever it is. So when there's a training overseas, when somebody comes to me and says, okay, how much of Persisio have you done? I usually like zero. Say, if you don't even learn what is on your desk, where are you going to learn and buy? So I think if you just focus on those things, the reward, once they realize they are fair, then just that they will stay with you and remain focused.
So, thank you. I can attest, being part of the team at ABACUS, I have actually had the privilege of being taught by Professor. I know we are still doing very badly in execution. There are certain things he's demanding of us, but we are going to get there eventually. The other area that both of you touched on was the role of technology. We are now, I think everywhere you turn, there is some sort of article, some information about particularly artificial intelligence and how it has totally disrupted the way we work and the way it is influencing work processes. A lot of the debate and maybe the publicity we see around AI is negative. AI is going to take away your jobs. And to a certain extent, I think that is right, because there are certain routine things that it will do better than any human being could. But what we are now seeing is it's not the AI that will take away your job, it will be the person who knows what to do with AI who will take your job. You both touched on how you're incorporating technology into the way you run business, the way you impact customers by deploying this maybe in the back office processes. And I wonder if you can shed some more light on how technology is helping you to navigate some of the unprecedented times. I think here we probably haven't done a lot more integration with the other technologies like the blockchain technologies, like machine learning. Professor talked about big data, and without data, none of these technologies can be of any particular value. So I'm curious to know, what should the leaders in the room be thinking about when they start to think about technology and digital transformation in helping them to ride the wave of these unprecedented times, as opposed to always playing catch up or being left behind entirely?
Thank you very much. For CPAs who are here, what you really can help bring value to your clients is this whole area around the data. I mean, each company is sitting on a pile of data, and most likely that data is manual. One of the things we did at NSF was to go paperless. It forced us to digitize every document we had in such a way that now that data can be accessed, can be recovered, can be manipulated for whatever I need to try and find out. And especially here in your auditor, please you help your clients get on that journey, because you will not make use of AI, big data, if your information is still manual, is still on paper. That is just a must. What he has done for us, because we went paperless, that's why you can begin to process your claim from the bedroom. Because we are set up in such a way that now you don't need a human intervention to pull up a file. You can actually go now and find information and begin the processing process. I'll give you an example that we did. Last November, we rolled out voluntary savings program. And initially we thought that we were going to go, we would meet you one by one and convince you to save. We found out, no. This thing we call the informal sector, we actually even need to change the word. I don't know what the informal sector means anymore, because you think about the border guy, and you think the border guy is in the informal sector, because it's not registered with the URSPS, but it's registered with this association. They've got an association of borders with a code of conduct that they hold themselves to. Now, okay, you see the erraticness of there is an association. And we found out that all these things called the informal sector, they are actually organized in some way or the other. So we misuse the word informal, and we realize that if you tap into that association, I don't have to meet the individual member. I just have to convince the leaders of the association. And now we signed up 2,000 borders voluntarily. This is last week. And the association basically sent their 5,000 shillings each to us, withholding from their daily dues that they pay. So now what they're giving the border guy a value is, guess what? Out of the dues you're giving us, we're putting some of it for you, at least once a month, 5,000 shillings for you to save for yourself. In that case, and we bring value. It will not work except when you have technology. You make it easy for them. We rolled this program out in November, so it's 4.5 months. We have 21,000 members as of yesterday. They've saved 13.7 billion shillings. There is a lady in Owino Market. In 1 month, in 31 days, she saved 65 times. She would send 5,000 shillings in the morning, 5,000 shillings in the evening, 5,000 shillings the next one. Sometime in the day, she would send even 3 payments. Why is she able to do that? Because technology now enables her to do those things. Now, we are not yet where we are, where you're using AI to the extent it needs to be done. But what happens now is the routine tasks. I heard our CIO guy said, you guys who are in routine tasks, within the next 2 years, it's going to be replaced by robotics. So now we are crumbling because we promise our staff, you're not going to lose your job. So now we're training them, we're working to reskill them, pivot them back to customer-facing, dealing with customer-facing issues and things like that, so that the robotics can take. So that's going to be a major impact on how we deliver our services.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for us, we began to see the importance of technology around the time of COVID, because we had to close and stay at home. So the first issue was, how could we continue earning an income as a business when we had no students? Luckily enough, we had partners like ICPAU and ACCA who helped us develop a learning management system, so that whether you are at home or abroad or wherever, you could study. So that was a game changer for us. For us to even remain in business. But also, technology has been changing so fast, in the sense that today, even the exams are paperless. So you've got to make an investment in order to afford that environment to your students. So we've had to embrace that. Now, the other thing, unlike Patrick here, is for us, barriers to entry are not there. Even our own staff, sometimes they say, you know, I can give you tuitions from elsewhere. And we live with that. So we always have to be saying, what is our value add to our student? You always have to be thinking about that. And we have realized that with technology and with cooperation with partners, we can provide certain facilities like revision kits to our students using technology. So that is how we look at the technology. But also, when you talk about the data, we've got a lot of data about our students. So we have been using this data to say, how do we teach? And what do students want to learn? And then we also look at who is passing. And then we analyze, we look at the trends. And you can see clear patterns about people who are actually passing. And you will find actually that when you relate that to incomes, you find that those with the lowest incomes have the biggest motivation to do what? To succeed. So all of these we have been able to do by understanding the demographics of our students through the use of technology. So for all organizations, really, the technology has become so important. Again, as I was speaking, I gave an example, and this troubles me. I told you I'm on the board of a hospital. Now, our biggest sources of clients in the hospital are the insurance companies. When these people come to the hospital, they ask them to fill a form. And in this form, we are collecting the same data. So we've been engaging these insurance companies and saying that, look, what is the objective of this data which you want to be on a paper? But we can capture it digitally. But why do you want it on a paper? Okay? So I don't know. There's a bigger problem in the context of our C-suite colleagues, that how do we think about the things that are repetitive? Because the whole idea about technology is not to lose jobs, but to create efficiency by removing those things that are repetitive. So every time you come to the hospital and they ask you, what's your name? And you have to say, my name is Samuel Sejjaaka, and write it on a paper. There is a problem. But they insist that the insurance companies need that paper. So I don't know where they keep the papers afterwards, but it reminds me of going through the airports for a long, long time, and you had to fill those embarkation and forms and departure forms. And I also wondered, what do they do with these forms? Okay? So that is the kind of situation where we are now, that, look, you have to think about technology in terms of how it improves efficiency. Of course, there are always those who don't want change, sometimes don't want change because they lose certain things. Like tutors want to print books and sell them to students. So how do you deal with that? So you have to manage those dilemmas as well. So it is a slow process. But some of the things we have done is to reduce risk is we don't handle money. Okay? We don't fill forms to register. So all these things have disappeared. But this revolution is a slow revolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I think both of you touched on how do we protect data. Prof, you talked about cybersecurity, and there are the concerns that as we digitize and automate more and more, how safe is our information? Maybe if you could spend time just explaining in both of your situations, what should leaders be thinking about so that they can remove that fear as a blocker for embracing the transformation that needs to happen, but think more about, if we acknowledge that this is a concern and we have a responsibility to protect information, how do we bring those two things together to ensure that we can still do what we need to do to create the efficiency and the productivity while protecting this information? Because we've all seen when it lands in the wrong hands, it is a bit of a problem, and then that kills the trust that you have worked so hard to build to get people to move into these technology spaces. So you can speak from your own experiences or share experiences from other places on this matter.
Yeah, thank you. Again, that's a very interesting question in the sense that there is what is required by a regulator, and there's what makes business sense. There was this bank, what was it called? Exim Bank? Was it called Exim Bank? This bank collapsed. I don't know if there's anybody from Bank of Uganda, But the director of supervision at that time said that after that bank collapsed, he asked, where's your data backed up? And they said, our data is backed up in Nairobi. So the executive director of supervision at that time made an edict. I don't know what it is now, but said that every bank must have local data storage. Now it sounds very, very straightforward, but data storage for a bank is in the order of $3 million, isn't it? And upwards, if you're going to do that kind of thing. And that's a cost. So when you have the regulator putting those regulations in place and you have to run a business, you find that the costs of compliance keep on increasing. So that is a difficult space for people in that area. But for us in our business, one, we have to comply with the Data Protection Act, like all others. So that one we are cognizant with. Two, we have put in place firewalls to protect the data. Luckily enough, for us now, we don't fall in the category of the banks. We put our data on a cloud somewhere. So we don't have a regulator who's going to come and say that we want to see the data here, we want the data backup here. So for us, it has been easy. I don't know how it is for Patrick, but what I have also understood is that it takes time. People have to realize over time that actually, when you change your habits, you begin to benefit from the changes. So by embracing the change over time, it has worked. But change doesn't happen and you say, on this day, we have gone paperless. So you can't do this and this. So you have to also, as a leader, give it time, keep on convincing people on how the change is going to work and the benefits of that change. So for us, we have talked about business continuity in terms of having cloud and having firewall. But the issue of data security is a real problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the data privacy is not even negotiable. I mean, like, it's a law, and the penalties are massive. It's 2%. The regulator will fine you 2% of your balance sheet if the data that you hold has been breached. Whether you are responsible or not, you better prove something. And for a fund like NSF, 2% is 500 billion shillings. So that's massive. So we take it serious. So we have got this, at least the systems, the personnel to do that. But the other thing that's important is most of the breaches of data have internal collusion. If you listen to all these banks, nobody actually came from outside. They had somebody inside who unlocked the key. So the people you have on who have access to the system, whether IT or whatever areas, how much do you trust them? How do you help them get so they become very aware? Because that becomes at least one level of defense we all need. Over the last 6 months, what we did was we ran what was the tricky phishing expedition. Phishing is where someone sends you an email, purports to have come from NSSF, but it came from somewhere else. And they say, you click here and put in your credentials. So we did 6 of those tests just to see that at least we bring an awareness of our staff. And we actually put a goal that there were 6. If you fail the 3 of them, in our final report card for performance, we are taking off 1 percentage point, simply because you're becoming a risk to the entity. And the idea is the more we can build up that awareness internally, at least the guy who is outside has to work much harder to get through to us. Because most of the breaches have happened, not necessarily from that, they had internal support and internal collusion to do that. So even as you put up your systems, you put up your resources, don't forget that you're one of the best defenses you have is training and raise awareness of our own staff so they do not give out their credentials just by reading. And they come in a very interesting way. We're doing something, we're running a bonus performance reward. Just the day before, we sent out a phishing and had your bonus reward is here. please click. So you click. People didn't read the rest, they just went. 47% of the staff clicked and gave their credentials, which means for 47%, that's over close to 300 staff members. If there was a bad guy there, he had 300 doors to enter into our system and do damage. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's a really practical test to do. And I believe one of the tools that is now commonplace or acceptable is to actually have an ethical hacker or hackers on your team so that you can constantly test the integrity of your systems. I would like to open up to questions from the audience. I hope there is a mic that can move to the various. We have 2 hands here. Any other questions? If we can take 3. So those are the first set of 3, and then we'll see if we have enough time to do. So some ground rules. Introduce yourself, tell us where you're from. Do not give us a thesis. Ask a question. Yeah? And because the more we stick to that, the more questions we can handle. So don't give us an elaborate thank you and no, your name, the organization, and the question. So we have identified the 2 gentlemen here, and there was 1 person in the middle. So please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Moses Aman, and I'm the CFO of Hema Cement. My question really is around transformation. In many organizations, it's perceived like a project, something that has a start and an end, and is normally characterized by the typical project activities. My question is, how can we continue to encourage leadership teams to maintain momentum beyond that initial enthusiasm? I have some experiences of my own, but considering the wealth and breadth of experience of our panel, we could possibly hear some real-life examples of how we can make, transformation a state of being, a continuous state of being. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Ocheng. I work for African Management Institute. It's Pan-African, so that means we have 100 staff across Africa, and we have impacted over 37,000 businesses, leading to 1.4 million livelihoods being impacted. The reason why we had that scalability is because of technology and leveraging data. Now, my question to the panel, both of you may have to answer, because with technology comes loss of staff. We may need to deploy technology that will now lead to some job roles becoming irrelevant. I personally bank with Standard Chartered. I have never visited a bank in almost 3 years. The last time I had to visit a bank was when I went to Nairobi to reactivate one of my banks that went idle. But you would notice that there are limited staff because the technology is so efficient that we do not need people. And Patrick has mentioned that we need people to be able to make the business thrive. At the same time, tech is coming to eliminate the same people we need. So my question is, how can we leverage the balance between tech and the people? Even in learning and development, the space I'm in, we are eliminating learning by physical interaction, but having tech to improve learning like Prof has shared. So how do you get that balance with people and tech? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moderator. Frank Katsime is my name. Conflict of interest, I worked with Professor Sejjaaka. He was my senior in Makerere. I joined him in 1990. And I still work with Patrick in about somewhere. I declare that because I want to say that the presentations were excellent. That was not part of the terms of reference. I'm supposed to ask a question. But my observation is, if you want to really do the transformation, if you want to perform and get excellence, you need excellent leadership in terms of the executive leadership. You need an excellent CEO, like the ones in front of us. When Patrick was making his statement, one would actually believe that if you have your money in SSSF, then you can't have it better elsewhere. You all agree with me. You need a CEO who is that kind of marketeer, strategic,
visionary, and farsighted. Now, Patrick, you own the biggest financial institution in this country. So they have the muscle to attract a person like your level. I have a smaller company, and I also chair a smaller company. I don't have the resources. You very well mentioned that we need to have relationship with the media, partly because you are big, also because you are strategic. You chair the board of New Vision. So you certainly won't have bad stories of what I used to have those days. Like towards elections, you'll have bad stories about NSSF and government. Now, we can't have those. Now, the company I participate we need to get there. What do you do? Thank you very much.
Okay, I will just, Moses, how do you encourage momentum on, I think, one of the things that we don't do enough is to allow our people to innovate. And the reason why we are scared is because innovation by nature means I'm trying something new, which means chance of failure is also high. So what happens is we stunt our people because we punish failure in the process of innovation. So if we can widen a bit of room that you can allow your people to bring new ideas, innovate, try it out, they begin to think much wider than what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Yes, there is where somebody has breached a process, breached a procedure. You don't let that go. But there's where sometimes people are just trying to do something new, but you hold them back. Your worst level are your mid-level managers because they don't want anybody to outshine them. So they will hold new ideas from coming to the top. I have an open door policy, and I've told the entire staff, they know this. If you have a good idea, talk to your manager. If he doesn't believe you, come to me. It's open door. Tell me, Patrick, I'm thinking about this. I mean, and I'm saying, yeah, lousy idea now, you go away. I would say, okay, let's try. Now then we figure out together how to manage the middle level manager so that idea can percolate. We've had people come up with amazing ideas. People think of innovation being in technology. No, it could be processes. It could just be a new offering to the customer. So if people are willing to think that way, you'll be amazed at what they do in that case. The momentum will be there. But at the top, and this answering Daniel's question, loss of staff, you've assumed that every facet of your business is technology driven. Therefore, if you have technology, you will miss it. We have 2.3 million members. Like I told you, by 2025, we're going to hit our targets. But guess what? We now stretch it to 2035. We have got new targets. And our new target is very interesting is we have 2.3 million members in the fund. Our target for 2035 is 15 million members. We actually tagline now, we have to create our own members. We can't wait for this economy to create jobs, so we recruit members. So we're now beginning to intervene in the economy. We've got what we call the National Marketing Company. We're intervening in agriculture. That's 7 million farmers. If I bring farmers to that, if I bring value to those farmers and intervene in the market side, those farmers will save with me if I bring value to them. So guys who we started are finding new opportunities because we are creating this for them, and it's working. I was talking with the Derek. There's a proposal we have for insurance, which actually will deliver healthcare in this country. We roll it out. Can you create new opportunities? How do you get new customers? Because that opens up a wide door. You're no longer started to eat. In this thing of informal sector, we created a new department called Enterprise. And we just moved 27 people from the regular. They applied. They were so excited to move into there. So we're not hiring new people. We just bring them in. Those we hire, we actually do need. So what happens is, if you're willing to expand, go beyond your BAU, go beyond every day, look forward, and expand your offerings, you'll be amazed that the technology is actually an enabler, not a replace of jobs. That's at least what we've seen. Finally, Frank, smaller companies. I work for a smaller company. About 70% of global jobs are created by small companies, so they're very prevalent. There are certain things that they've said you need to do with the company, even at a department level, company level. Purpose. Can you align your purpose as a small company with the staff you're going to hire? When the purpose tags into their inner passion, you'll get the person. You'll get the guys who you're looking for in that case. You'll get the type of directors who should be on your board once that purpose is very clear. Can they trust you? That comes with it. Then when they're with you, what are the things you can do to help them move from basic to mastery? And help them grow together with that company so that eventually it becomes bigger than when they first came in. Will it work? Maybe not, but at least you improve the chances that it will work so that you can actually get those. So, small or big, the same kind of fundamentals still apply in terms of the approach that you take in terms of get the best resources and keeping the best resources.
Okay, thank you very much. Moses, I like your question. Transformation is not a project. And that's true. That's why in my presentation I talked about continuous learning. If you're not learning new things, you can't have transformation. So you create an environment in which people are always learning new things. But even you, as a leader, you need to be learning new things. That's why one of the things I really appreciate about the ICPAU is the CPD, because even though you go and attend and you know what they're talking about, somebody will bring out a perspective you had never thought about. And that kind of makes you think outside the box. So that is when you go back to your organization and you continue the transformation. But you are right, change has to be continuous. With Daniel, with technology comes loss of jobs, inevitably. But I don't want you to think in that context. I want you to think that with technology comes a change in the nature of jobs. So even our people must be retooled. They must be learning and relearning. I think that is Alvin Toffler. So the jobs just change. In developed economies, the only two measures that are important. I know here we talk about economic growth in Uganda, but there they don't talk about economic growth. They talk about jobs created, and they talk about productivity. Now, I don't know if we have those statistics being covered here in Uganda. How many jobs are we creating, and what is the productivity per person? I think there have been some very bad vibe about productivity of Ugandans. And there are some organizations where they'll tell you, man, don't bring Ugandans here. But surprisingly, when Ugandans get out of this environment, they outperform. So I don't know what goes wrong. So even us internally, if we change the culture in organizations, people can be productive. So I think it is about retraining people so that they are ready for the next era. Frank, yes, thank you for those good comments. Even us at ABACUS, we're a very small company. I mean, compared to Patrick here, we're running a very small boat. But for me, as a leader, what are the things that are important? One, as a leader, I keep my ego. So as a leader, please keep your ego. Nobody wants it. So these days, it is in fact very rare for me to put on a suit, because this suit gives me an ego, isn't it? So when I go to work, I want to look like the people I work with. I don't have that kind of what? I don't have that kind of problem when I find, you know, when we went to MAT, there was a designated place for parking for me. And I find people have parked there. I simply find my level. I don't say remove your car. Now, all those things make a change. It is subtle, but it is a change, isn't it? They don't say the boss is parking. So keep your ego. Two, make people believe in themselves. Again, for me, let me use the example of MAT. I am here taking credit for things I have not done. New programs have been introduced. A lot of changes have been made. It is the people who work at MAT who have come and said, can we try this? And my job is simply to be the chief enabler. Please, you try. And on some of those things, we have burnt our fingers. But don't stop people from trying. Lastly, as I said, let me repeat it. If you are employing people, create hope. Create a future for them. I don't say this because I'm in education, but in organizations where there are opportunities for training, you're going to find that there's a strong correlation between training and productivity. So I always encourage people to keep on training, to keep on sharpening the saw. Thank you.
Thank you. If I look at the time check, we have 3 minutes. So is there one last burning question? As they say, okay, yeah. As you, just before you asked that, we've received some clarification from somebody in the room who has signed the note as Kamlegea, and it is to address something that Prof said, and they said Exim Bank has never closed. It operates and, okay, yes, so it took over a bank that was closed, but Exim Bank is still in operation and has 7 branches. So I hope that you are now happy that that has been clarified. Oh, it is the Mr. Kamlegea. Okay, thank you. That has been. Yes, we've got a lady in the back.
Yes, I'm Isabella from UN Women. One question: what are some of, just for learning purposes, what are some of the institutional tools in place to monitor your company's efficiency, effectiveness, and relevancy? These can speak specifically to some of the policies or progress, align it with your clients, maybe staff, or even the beneficiaries. Thank you.
Isabella, that's a very interesting question. I will start by kind of posing a question to all of us here. Many of you know Socrates, Aristotle, Plato. And we know them most likely as philosophers, the Greek philosophers. We learned about them, including Pythagoras, who was an Italian philosopher. But the reason they were very good philosophers, I found out, they were all mathematicians. As Aristotle gave us the 8 notes of music, Pythagoras gave us the Pythagorean theorem that we learned about. Why? Because the philosophy they came was very rational and logical. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Therefore, 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. Logical, philosophical. What is your data telling you in your company? How well do you analyze that data and get a story out of it? Let me give you just an example of what data tell. So we begin the parliamentary hearings, and we are scared because, Parliament is wrecking us left and right. June 2022, the number of people who were eligible to take their money was 51,000. The portfolio was 620 billion shillings. So as the hearing begins December 2022, I'm watching that number. Are these people going to take their money or not? And we're watching. Some are taking, but no, there's not a lot of movement. Same statistic, June 2023. The number of people who are eligible to take their money has gone to 67,000. The portfolio now is 710 billion shillings. And told me something. Heck no. My members didn't care what Parliament was doing. You think what that does to me? Realize, sure, my members believe and trust in the fund that even when they have the chance to take their money, they stayed. That's why in March 2023, I actually went on radio and TV and threatened all defaulting employers. If you do not send in the contributions, we are coming for you. And I got a few choice words when employers called back. How dare you? Parliament is wrecking it. But I knew members believe that was what the data was telling me. By the same statistics, June 2024, that number has gone to 79,000 and the portfolio is 1.1 trillion shillings. These are guys who can take their money, they've chosen to stay. Now, that's data within us. What is that data telling you? And I'll disagree with the professor on one thing. You know, NSF is a Uganda-run company. From the board, from the chairman of the board, to the we are all Ugandans. Let me give you some stats, and this is where it becomes. The only way we create value for a member are two ways. We collect on your behalf, we invest that money, we give you interest on your account. Using those, so we will measure our value created or productivity in two ways. Take those two parameters, divide by our overall operating costs. It will give me the value I create for each shilling I spend. Last year, these are the stats. NSF Kenya, using the same metric, for each shilling they spent in expenses, they generated 11 shillings in value. NSF Tanzania, these are our peers. For each shilling they created they spent in operating expense, they generated 6 shillings in value for their members. NSF Uganda, for each shilling we spent in operating expenses, we created 18 shillings in value for the member. And the question is, it even demystifies a myth that Kenyans work hard and work smarter than us. You just show that in NSF Uganda, we are creating more value than the member. Now, this data is sitting within you. You can cut all kinds of matrices, and that data will tell you a story, and you become a good philosopher, like Socrates, Aristotle, Plato was. Thank you.
I think you have answered the question. Just a clarification. When I say that Ugandans are generally less productive, it does not mean that all Ugandans are what? Less productive. I can see the chairman of UDP is here, and I was there for 6 years. And we had a struggle. We had a battle there, isn't it? Patricia is here. We had a battle. But the whole thing revolved around changing the culture. Once the culture changed, the organization also did what? So the culture, I presume, in UDP is similar to the one in NSSF. So as leaders, as people in the C-suite, let us look to culture, because culture will eat your strategy for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner. So I am not saying that necessarily Ugandans can't work. It's just that where they are not working, it is that particular environment. And you spoke to this, that if you want to see if an organization is working, just look at the people there. Are they happy? Are they engaged? If they are not engaged, then you have a problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for CPA Patrick Ayota and CPA Professor Sam Sejjaaka. We hand back to Charles.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Hard on. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jackie. Professor, thank you so much. CPA Ayota, thank you so much for sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of our session. Time is key in the affairs of the C-suite. Allow me at this moment invite the President to give us the closing remarks. But as the President gets on the podium, Carol and the team that is working on the photographs kindly do the arrangement. Members, we shall have some memorial pictures, all of us. First, we shall have a picture that will have all our panelists with the council members present and the committees of council present. After that photo, we shall have the rest for the CEOs present with the panelists, and then we shall have the CFOs and the heads of finance present with the panelists, and then lastly we shall have the secretariat staff have a picture with the panelists. Kindly don't miss out on that picture. We just have 5 minutes to close the session. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you very much, Jackie, for the moderation of our panelists who came with vast experience, expertise in their presentations, and to the audience, all those of us in attendance, thank you very much for the attendance and engaging in the discussions. Before I close the session, I have a few takeaways personally, and I hope they are shared takeaways. So without taking the risk of being a rapporteur for the day, my takeaways were, one, those of us in the C-suite need to position ourselves to take on the challenges of the turbulence. Yes, there is turbulence, but reality is turbulence, like disruption, creates challenges, but also creates opportunities. So we shouldn't chicken out, but also look into the opportunities. And in tandem with our theme of driving transformation change in these unprecedented times, as leaders, we need to provide leadership to the teams if we're going to have the transformation. And the leadership is important in the following key areas. One, empower the teams. Two, embrace technology. Three, training. And last but not least, look to culture. So I hope we can go and do what was said we don't usually do. Let's go and execute. Let's also go and be part of those Ugandans who perform. So may I request that we have a round of applause, another, for our panelists. And with those few remarks, we bring the forum to a close. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to invite Jackie, our panelists, and then the council members present, plus the committees of council. We are getting up here. Nancy, where are we? The panelists will take the chairs. You will be the common denominator in this picture. CPA, come here, don't run away. I have a picture with you. Board members present were the ones getting on after this picture. CPA Serebe, Betty? Any other member, council member, members on committees of council? Thank you so much. Don't forget to smile. Thank you. Board members present, we are getting on stage next. Board members with our panelists. Jackie, stay. So you will take the, you are the common denominators. Board members, board members, thank you, CPA Patricia, Non-Executive Director, Board Member. CPA Kamlege, I was going to complain. Thank you so much. Let us now have the CEOs present. CEOs, our panelists, you are the common denominator, kindly. That is why we made your life comfortable. CEOs, Afande Onata, I am going to fine you. Members, make sure you're in the picture. Are you in the picture? I think we balance up. Kenneth, the other side. Can you capture people here? The next one will be for the MC and the panelists. Now, the practitioners just stay behind. Yours was next. The practitioners present, just stay behind. I see partners from different firms. Any other practitioner this side? Ladies and gentlemen, the C-suite, these are practicing members. I can see KPMG, Mutumba, Mukobe, Deloitte. Uthman is away. Idiom, Musawe, TMK, Sejjaaka and Kawase. These are members that are running audit firms, what we call accounting firms in the legal terms. Thank you so much, members. Yeah, auditors never smile because when they smile, you may compromise their report. Let's get to the finance persons, CFOs, heads of finance. Sharon, I wish to see you here. The CFOs, heads of finance, accountants, those of us who are in a preparatory stage for the C-suite. Susan, who is that one? It's a picture for CFOs. Yes, I like the design. strategically coined. I was going to complain. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. The fourth estate will not be invited because you are the owners of the cameras. Members of staff, members of the secretariat, this is your moment. UN women, how did we miss out? Eh? Don't tell me you could not fit in any. It was intentional. Members of staff present, Carol, Prosper, Joanne. This is ours. Robert. Come back. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end of our session. We wish you the best of your day. See you again next year.